Hello and welcome to another episode of the West Point Lake Update. I'm your host, Steven Rector, Park Ranger with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We have a great show planned for you today, so stay tuned after this short break. Hi and welcome back. Joining me now is Cindy Estes. Welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Well, today we're at Schaefer Herd Campground down closer to the West Point area on West Point Lake. And you've worked here for a few years, is that correct?
That's correct.
But this year you are going to be a gate attendant at Whitetail Ridge with your husband, John.
That's correct too.
And you have been there in the past, but you've been away for a couple of years, and we actually have made some changes since you were there the last time. Can you tell us about some of the changes in how Whitetail Ridge operates now?
Whitetail this year has 100% of its sites reservable, meaning that you can make an advanced reservation on any site in our park. That's the major change that we've made.
And that has sort of confused a few of our campers in this we are all reservable kind of idea. Do you have to have a reservation to camp at Whitetail Ridge?
No. If you come into Whitetail Ridge without a reservation, and we have sites available that don't have reservations on them, as always, you can come in and rent that site. We had a number of people who did that yesterday.
So what we're talking about is essentially if you make a reservation on a specific site, you are guaranteed that that site will be available. However, if you just come into the gatehouse and you want to rent a campsite, if there's one available, we'll rent you a campsite, but we can't guarantee that we will have something available when you arrive.
That's correct.
So,
and sometimes if you want it for a longer period of time, it may be more difficult to get it the whole time.
If you arrive in and you rent a campsite, what you're saying is it might only be available for 2 or 3 days.
Correct.
And you might not be able to stay there for a week or 14 days, which I understand 14 days is our camping limit.
That is correct. And you might be able to stay 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, and then if there's another site that's available some more days, that you could transfer to that site.
Those transfers in the past, I know people have transferred quite a few times because we sort of had this mix between what's reservable and what is a first come first served basis. And people really liked those first come first served sites, so they were making a reservation and transferring over to other sites. Have you seen any of that going on now where people don't like the site they're on?
Very little of that. Occasionally you'll have someone who has reserved a site and when they get here they don't like it. But primarily those are people who've never been here before. Most of our folks are returners, people who come off and on all year, and they know what they like. And so they're going to reserve that site and they're going to stay on it.
Everybody has a favorite site, but from what I have seen, 19 through 21 are very popular and 56 is very popular. And those were set as first come first served sites. So what I understand you're saying is people can now make reservations on their favorite site.
That's correct. And that has made it a lot easier for the customers who are coming in and for the gate attendants who are trying to welcome them. And
since we've talked about this being all reservable and we would encourage people to have their reservations, how can our visitors make reservations?
There are actually 3 ways to make reservations. You can make reservations up to 180 days before you want to come into the park. You can do it online at the website www.recreation.gov, and that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The other option is you can do it on phone by calling 1-877-444-6777, and that line is open from 10 in the morning till 10 at night. And then the other way is for when you got a chance at the last minute and you want to go camping next week and you didn't get a reservation, or you waited till it was too late to make a reservation on the phone or on the web, because you have to do that 4 days before you want to come in. So you come to the window and you say, is so-and-so site available? On these dates, yes it is. Can I reserve it now for that date? And we can do that at the window as we've always done.
So you talked about on the 1-800 or 1-877 number, 877-444-6777. We'll say it again just to make sure everybody hears it right.
Right.
You talked about that on the reservation number and on the website, that there is a reservation window of 4 days. So you must make your reservations at least 4 days in advance through those channels. What's the latest that you'll make a reservation at the window? If I wanted to come up today to attempt to make a reservation starting tomorrow, could I do that at the window?
You certainly can. You can come up at the evening before you want to come in, make your reservation so you can come in bright and early the next morning, and it's done. We can do that.
Well, we have a few people who will do that as well. I know when we first started going there at Whitetail, we had some people who missed that 4-day window, so they made a reservation for Sunday, but then they wanted to come in a couple days early, so they came in and at the window polished up that reservation to get the exact days that they wanted to have. So I think it's a very customer-friendly thing that we do to allow them to make these reservations.
I agree.
But as I understand it, we don't have people calling your gatehouse to make reservations.
No.
That wasn't one of the options that you gave us.
No, we do not take reservations on the phone, nor do we take cancellations of reservations on the phone. That needs to be done through NRRS, the National Recreation Reservation Service, at the 1-877-444-6777 number, and they will cancel your reservation, they can change your reservations, they can do all of that on the phone or on the website. You can do it on the website of recreation.gov.
So now that we've made these reservations and now everybody's starting to hopefully think about coming to camp with us, when I have a reservation and I arrive at your gatehouse, there are a few things that you're going to ask me if I have certain items, and you're going to need certain documents, and you're going to need some information from all the vehicles that I have. Could you tell us what some of the things that we'd like our campers to bring up to the window with them when they're starting to check in, either on a reservation or if they come into a first come, first serve site?
I don't have any first come, first serve sites.
If they're coming in to occupy a site immediately.
When you come in the gate, the first thing that we're going to want to know is the license tag number of the vehicles that you are bringing in. If you're bringing a truck and a car, I want both vehicle tag numbers. I do not need the camper number. If it's a motor home, we may or may not ask for it, especially if you think you might be driving it in and out, and we do have some customers who do that. The other thing that we need is if you used a senior or access discount card when you made your reservation, we must see that access card or that senior card and a picture ID, usually your driver's license. We cannot honor that discount without seeing the card and seeing an ID.
And so you talked about the senior pass. It's sometimes called the Golden Age Pass. It's sometimes called the Senior Pass, sometimes called America the Beautiful Senior Pass. The Access Pass is sometimes called, usually the Access Pass, but sometimes also the America the Beautiful Access Pass. Now, I know from being a park ranger here, we don't sell those, but we honor them. You have information in your gatehouse if people qualify for those and how they can qualify, where they can get those from?
Yes.
Okay.
That information is always available, and if you think you might be eligible or want to ask about it, we'll be happy to give you that information.
So really what we're asking folks to do is if they bring this information up to the gatehouse, it'll help them prevent multiple trips to and from their vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
And hopefully that'll also speed up the check-in process
you as
well.
It will. And when you make a reservation, either online and I believe with the telephone, they're going to send you a form that you can complete. In that form will allow you to write those tag numbers down so that you already have that handy when you come.
Yeah, so they've got all this information with them. We've given them their passes, and now we've really taken them from the point of making your reservation, how to do that, and checking in, and now the rest is just having fun and camping, right?
Absolutely.
So we hope everybody comes out to visit Whitetail Ridge Campground. It's open until, I believe, November 30th, 2014. make your reservations, come out and visit us and have a good time. Cindy, I want to thank you for being on the show today, and we hope you have a wonderful summer up there with your husband at Whitetail Ridge.
Thank you. We plan to.
We plan to. I plan to have a great summer too. So stay tuned. We have more to come after this short break. Welcome back. Joining me now is Otis Broom. Otis, you are the park attendant over at Amity Campground with your wife Jessica, correct?
Correct.
Now, you've been over at Amity Campground for a few years, right?
Going on 5.
Well, 5 years. So you've probably seen quite a few changes over there in the last 5 years,
Oh
haven't
yeah,
you?
yes.
We've done some upgrades to campsites. We've done this past winter, a few upgrades to some campsites and some bathrooms as well.
And the power, we've gone to 50 amps and a lot of the campground
That
service
is
now.
that is true. Now, Whitetail Ridge has only 30 amp campsites available, but you actually have 3 different types of campsites available over there at Amity, don't you?
Well, we have primitive, and we have the 50 amp and the 30 amp now.
So when we talk about primitive campsites, what exactly is that means?
A primitive site is mainly just for tents. It's no water, no power. So if you want to come out and just have a good time and spend the night in a tent, that's the ones you would use.
You have, I think the number's 3.
3.
What we classify as primitive sites that are, it's just what we call an impact pad. It's a spot to put your tent, and if I hear you correctly, there's no water, there's no electric.
Right.
What does one of those sites rent for?
They run $16 a night.
$16 a night. And then you said you also have some 30 amp service and some
We have
50
30,
amp?
right. We have 30 amp service for someone that has a smaller camper or even a medium-sized camper. And then when you get into the large motor homes, some of them require 50, and now that's available there.
And those 30 amp sites and those 50 amp sites, they also have water, but a lot of people are always asking about, do we have sewage hookup or cable or any of the extra? What all is on that campsite?
Just water and electric, and then of course a impact pad for a tent. You can also put a tent if you rent a regular campsite with a camper. There is, in most cases, a tent pad there, a impact pad for a tent.
But we don't have any sewage hookup in any of our campgrounds here.
No sewage. We do have a dump station, you know, if you're going to be there long enough to use it. A lot of campers come just for the weekend, so their tanks usually will hold for 2 or 3 days without, but you can dump it on the way out.
And we talked a little earlier about, we have some sites that are classified as reservable at Amity Campground, and we have some sites that are classified as first come, first serve, which for us working in this business, we kind of know what that means right off, but could you explain specifically what the difference is between a reservable and first come, first serve?
We're about half and half on reserve and what we refer to as first come, first serve. And the reserve is just a way of guaranteeing a particular site for a particular amount of time or day is going to be there when you get there. You can call our reserve number, you can do it online, or you can come to the window at the gatehouse and reserve a site at any time if it's available for whatever days you need. The first come, first serve is just if you walk up and decide you want to go camping today and you come, these sites are not reservable. They're just for customers that come in and does not have a particular site in mind, but they want to go camping today.
So those sites are designed for people, it's Friday afternoon, it's beautiful out here at the lake, I want to go camping.
Right now.
I can drive over to Amity with my equipment, and if there's one of these first come, first serves available, I can rent it and go start camping immediately.
Right, right.
But if it's Friday before and I want to make reservations, I need to use one of those reservable sites I can't reserve what we classify as first come, first serve.
No, they're not reservable.
Now, if I'm driving through your campground and I'm trying to find a campsite that I am happy with, that I want to camp on, how am I going to know what's a 30 amp, what's a 50 amp, what's a reservable, what's a first come, first serve? It sounds like there's all sorts of different things going on here.
Well, as you drive through, there's a post in front of each campsite. Regardless of what it is, there's a post there. And if it's, every one of them has a number on it. That's the number of that site. If there's a R painted on the front, it'd be a white R. That's just simply says reservable site. If it's a 30 amp, there won't be any numbers on it at all. If it's a 50 amp, that will be stenciled in white at the bottom of that post, and it will say 50-A, which lets you know that is a 50 amp site and it is reservable. Without anything on it, it's just a first come, first serve site.
So if I understand you correctly, I drive by a site and there'll be a site post number on it, and then if there's nothing else on the rest of that post, that site number is available only on a first come, first serve basis.
Correct.
Correct, okay. Now if I drive by the next site and it's got a site number and a white R painted on it, that should tell me that that is a 30 amp reservable campsite.
Correct.
And then I go by the next site and there's a white R plus the 50A at the bottom, that's going to tell me that's a 50 amp reservable campsite.
That's correct.
Is there a price difference between your 30 amps and 50 amps and primitives and reservables and first come, first serves? And
yes, your 30 amp sites are 24 a night and your 50 amp is 28 a night. And of course the three primitive sites we have is, like I mentioned, $16.
yeah, you did tell us those were $16. So it's $16 for the primitive, $24 for a 30 amp, and $28 for a 50 amp. Is there a price difference between a reservable site and a first come, first serve site, or do they rent the same just based on the service level?
The only difference is the 50 or a 30.
Okay.
If it's a reservable site and it's not a 50 amp, it's still 28 a night.
So no price difference or upcharge or downcharge for making reservations or not making reservations?
No.
Okay. I know that there on the website and the 1-800 number, there is a time frame in which you have to make those reservations, which I believe is 4 days. But you at Amity Campground, you also are willing to make those reservations up to and including, what, 24 hours in advance?
Correct. You can come to the gatehouse and we can reserve a site for you as long as you have the proper identification, such as your ID, your driver's license, or any picture ID. If you call the reserve number, they require a 4-day window.
Okay.
Where if you come to our gatehouse, you can make it for tomorrow, you know, and we can do that. But we cannot take a reservation over the phone. You must be in person.
If we're making telephone reservations, it has to be through that 877-444-6777 number.
Correct.
Yeah. And you won't do cancellations either. That has to go through the 877 number as well. So if I've lived a little bit of a distance away and I'm not real sure on what are good campsites, and I just call the 877 number and make a reservation, what if I come to your campground and I don't like the site that I have, or my equipment won't fit there, or it's too far from the bathroom, or there's too many bugs around there for me? I mean, can I move? Can I change?
Sure. All you have to do is come back up to the gatehouse and tell us what the problem is, and I promise you we'll solve it. You can move anywhere. We can transfer you. It takes very little. It's no problem at all.
Is there a charge for me to transfer?
None at all. We're glad to help you any way we can.
Can I transfer from a primitive to a 50 amp site if I decide, man, it's 110 degrees out here and I need electric for a fan?
You can. The only requirement there you would pay the difference between the $16, and if you go to a 50 amp, which you may not need, you would have to pay the difference between the 16 and 28. Or if you go to a 30 amp, you would pay the difference between 16 and the $24.
So if I come in and I don't like the site I have, I can transfer to any other site in the campground. I'll just have to pay that. There's a price difference. I'll have to pay the price difference for that site.
Now, if you're going from 30 to a 30, there is no charge, no difference.
No charge to transfer.
Right.
And that's basically just a very simple thing to do within the computer, I would guess?
That's correct.
Okay. You know, we've got people coming to the campground now. We've got them checked in, hopefully. When they arrive to camp, what are the things that you need them to bring with them for you to be able to check them into the campground and get them on their way and get them down camping?
First of all, we need identification, and if you're operating on a discount card, a senior pass, we need you to bring that to the window with a picture ID, and most of all, your tag number.
Yeah, the tag numbers are
very important. We have to have the tag number of the vehicle that is going to be responsible or be driven in and out of the campground. And if you'll bring those three things with you, it'll make the process a lot quicker for everybody.
Yeah, we have to have those tag numbers, and if our campers, I guess, just get in the habit of when they open that truck door to walk around back and write it down, or I've seen a lot of our campers who they just write it down on a piece of paper and they have it in their wallet. They're frequent campers that come to us a lot.
Yeah.
Now, how many cars, when I get in there, how many cars can I have at my campsite?
You're allowed 4 vehicles per campsite.
So 4 vehicles are going to get passes. How do you keep track of all that?
When you come in, if you say you and your wife come in, that would be 2 passes, 2 vehicles. And if you have a visitor, or you say your son, daughter, somebody in your family is coming a bit later on, we're going to issue you a different kind of pass for that particular, unless you are actually staying. So a lot of people don't come maybe till the next day when they get off from work. You will be issued the same kind of pass they are, up to 4 different passes, or 4 passes for that one site.
So I want to come back to that in just a minute, but you talked about visitors and how that's a different kind of pass. So there's actually a difference between how we consider overnight campers versus what we might call daytime visitors.
Right.
Is there charges for some of these extra passes, or?
There's a 3-day charge for all day. You can come in at 7 in the morning. You have to leave at 9:30 that night if you wanted to come in and just visit that day and spend the day at the campground with your family or whoever's there.
So there's a $3 visitor fee if you're just coming in to visit someone in our campground for the day. But what if I'm an overnight camper that's coming in to visit or spend the night with my parents or friends or other family?
It would be considered, just with that campsite, there would be no charge. And we will issue the same pass they have.
And then, so I assume with the visitor passes, then those need to be turned back in, and if I come back the next day, I'm going to have to purchase another pass for the next day?
Yes, this is a charge for each additional day that you stay there. If you leave the campground that night, that pass needs to be turned back in, and then I will issue you another, and then there will be another $3 charge. Yes,
okay.
for each day.
And that applies only to the visitors to your campsite. The folks that are actually camping with you get a different kind of pass, and that's included in the price of the
That's
camp.
correct. That's correct.
Okay. What I wanted to ask too was, should those white passes, we call them white passes, overnight camper passes, should those be turned back in when your campers depart?
On your departure day, yes. Those and the reservation tag, if you've had a reservation. If you've not had a reservation, you still need to get the orange tag off your post, bring it and your pass to the camp gate on the way out to the office. And usually there's somebody standing out there to greet you, and we will get that from you.
Take those passes back?
Yes.
What are the, because I forgot to ask you this earlier, what are the hours over there at Amity Campground? I mean, when do you open, when do you close?
We have gates, and we lock those gates promptly at 10 o'clock at night for security reasons. And we open them sharply at 7 o'clock each morning.
So Amity Campground, though, you're in Alabama, so are we
That's
talking about Eastern Time, Central Time? How do you operate over there?
We're in Alabama, but we operate on Eastern Time.
So some people call that Georgia time,
Yes.
some people call that
slow time and fast time.
Yeah, some people we've heard around slow time, fast time. So
Eastern time
or Georgia time or fast time.
Right. This whole project operates on Eastern Time, regardless of whether you're on the Alabama side or the Georgia side.
Okay, so 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Correct.
Eastern time, Georgia time, fast time.
Yes.
Take your pick. All 4 of our campgrounds operate that way.
Right.
Gates are open from 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. We've got 4 cars that we talked about. We talked about all the visitor passes and how you can get those passes. We talked about how you can make reservations. Talked about your operating hours. Our time has actually gone a lot quicker than I expected, but one more thing that I want to cover with you is we get a lot of people who ride around in the backs of pickup trucks. And I guess we have sort of a special rule when you get into our campgrounds, and that's any campground, not just Amity Campground, but Can you tell us about really how we want people to handle that before we let you go for today?
Well, it's against one of the rules is to ride in the back of a pickup truck, and that's for safety reasons. There are a lot of children in this park, and we want everybody to be extremely safe. And back of a pickup is anybody can fall out. It's happened. They can get hurt seriously. So you're not allowed to carry anybody in the back of a pickup truck, even though you're going a short distance, not even to the shower and back, to the boat dock and back. You must ride in the cab. And that also applies for a boat that you may be pulling to the boat launch. Nobody's to ride in the back of that boat or on a jet ski being pulled throughout the park.
Yeah, our speed limits are 15 miles an hour in the parks, but even at 15 miles an hour, a fall out of the back of a truck can be fatal.
It can be real.
Everyone in the cab of the pickup truck, and so that's one of the important rules that we run into a lot around here. When you hit that gate, everyone needs to be into the cab of the pickup truck.
Right, that's correct.
Well, Otis, like I said, our time went very fast today, so I want to thank you for being on the show today. We want to have our visitors, please come see us over at Amity Campground. We've got 96 campsites. We've got all sorts of different types. They are wonderful, fantastic campsites. Visit recreation.gov to make reservations or call 877-444-6777. Stay tuned for more right after this break. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on the West Point Lake Update. We want to thank our guests, Cindy Estes and Otis Broom, park attendants at Whitetail Ridge and Amity Campground. All 4 of our campgrounds are open right now, so please make your reservations, either by calling the 1-877-444-6777 number or on the website at recreation.gov. As a reminder, please like us on our official Facebook page, facebook.com/westpointlake.usace. There you can get news and updates on all of the stories from today's show, plus additional news and information in the future. As always, wear your life jacket anytime you are in and around the water, and stay tuned for our next show coming up soon.